We are live on Lab Code Agents. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We were just discussing how this might be a little bit too early for you, but my assumption is you're rolling over in bed right now, scrolling Facebook, and so you're going to catch this because it's going to be really valuable. And so if you didn't catch the first one a couple of weeks ago, let me introduce Frank and Brian here from the National Real Estate Post. We announced that we have a new partnership with these gentlemen. If you're not familiar with the National Real Estate Post, you should be. It is the equivalent of Lab Code Agents is to real estate. They are to mortgage. And so it's just a natural, synergistic partnership that we're putting together here where we are going to co-share content back and forth to each other's platforms. And we couldn't be more excited to have them on with us. So, gentlemen, I think today, this is, the first webinar was an intro. This one is going to be the first State of the Month webinar. We're going to do this twice per month, and we're going to share what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the world. And every once in a while, like Brian did on the last one, they're going to share some really good content, some really good ideas that you guys could be putting into your business. So without further ado, gentlemen, welcome. Brian Stevens is Mr. Non-Essential. Frank Garay is, what is that, Blackout?
Blackout.
I like it.
It's for my MMA fighting, you know. Is that called MMA?
Awesome.
I don't even know.
I was going to say, you're not going to be speaking my language. I like to watch it every once in a while, but I'm not going to hurt anyone ever.
Once in a while, grapple just somebody.
I grapple with my stepson. That's the most grappling I do. What's going on, fellas? Good morning.
How's it going?
Good morning. Welcome to a new week. So let's start this by one of you or both of you kind of give a little intro to who you are. Let's assume a lot of our audience haven't met you guys. To tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the National Real Estate Post, and then let's dive into what's going on in the world.
Go for it, Frank.
Okay. Well, the National Real Estate Post was formerly something called Think Big, Work Small, or TBWS, and it started back in really 2007. And for the past 13 years or so, we've been reporting on the real estate industry and real estate industry news. And, you know, we're mortgage guys from the past, so we always kind of had a mortgage slant. These days, you know, not so much. I mean, it is just what it is. We kind of see the mortgage and real estate industry as being completely intertwined. Like, you know, we do different jobs, but it's for the same purpose, to close the deal, right? Closing a real estate deal. And so we see them as being very intertwined and, you know, that kind of a thing. So when we do our shows, we're not necessarily going, we're talking mortgage guys. We're talking to the mortgage and real estate industry. And sometimes it is mortgage focused a little bit, but the stuff that we focus on mortgage wise is probably really important to know as a real estate agent because it's probably impacting your transactions in some way or another. And but sometimes it's very real estate focused. And so, you know, that's really good for the mortgage guys because, you know, when we're talking about the real estate aspect of the industry, then that's good for you to know too. You know, if you're the type of originator that definitely believes, you know, you partner with real estate agents. And so we've been doing this for the past, you know, 13 years. I would say we are the OG of, you know, video blogging within the real estate and mortgage industry. We kind of led the charge, and now there's a lot of people doing stuff, and which I find really encouraging personally. Me and Brian in the early days spent a few years really just trying to teach people how to do video blogging, you know, video podcasting, and you know, it's so funny, Jeff. It was and Tristan, or is it Jake? Is that who we have? But it was so funny in the beginning. It was like, you know, people were very interested in it. It was like, I'm into it. I want to be a part of this. I see the power in it. And they would come to our trainings. We were training all across the country, like everywhere, being invited by associations and companies, just teach us how to do it. And so we would do that, you know, but the adoption of it was just remarkably low. But now, you know, 13 years later, all we needed clearly was a little pandemic. You know what I mean? And now we have a pandemic, and suddenly everybody's like, Bob Realtor coming to you live on Facebook from my studio. I'm here to let you know what listings have the most activity today. And, you know, and I think that's great. Personally, I think it's awesome. I mean, this is something that me and Brian were, you know, years ago trying to help people with, and you know, nobody would adopt it, but now today it seems like there's so much more of it. And I really encourage anybody who's doing, you know, any type of video podcasting or blogging, continue to do it. my one word of advice, take it from a couple of guys that have been doing it for 13 years professionally, every single business day for 13 years. Your friend is consistency. And because Brian will tell you too, it's like we did this for 2.5, almost 3 years before we even had any type of monetary results from it. You know what I mean? It took a long time. I think as a real estate agent or a mortgage professional, if you're doing it for the sake of your product, you can reap benefits of it a lot faster than 2 years. But me and Brian didn't. We were just talking about stuff. We really didn't have a way to make money per se. You know what I mean? So it wasn't until we had a big enough viewership we'd get sponsors to dive in and that kind of a thing. But you won't need to be there. But, you know, with respect to what's going on in the industry today, Brian, do you want me to dive into what I found, or do you want to jump in here? It's fine with me either way.
No, I think I'm going to jump in first, Frank. And the reason I've been walking around is I'm noticing my battery is getting low. And one other benefit of buying a brand new Macintosh computer is it's so Mac of them. They change out all their power cords. And of course, we have 15 of the power cords from our old Macs. But the one that I need for this one is at my house, and I'm on fumes right now. So there's a couple of things I want to talk. It's a story of my life. I can't find my.
So
remote.
if we lose you, we know why.
Yeah, story of my life. I can never find the remote, my keys, or my power charger. It's just it's how it goes. You know, I want to start by saying this is I was working with a real estate agent out in Napa. I still work with her, and so she was kind of coming out here. She was young and relatively new in the business, seemed a little idealistic and kind of shy. And so she came in with a couple other people with one of our workshops that we did. And then we kind of lost track of each other. And so she called me up and she put a site together. And I don't want to get into that strategy right now. But she really came on to like a really great idea about supporting local businesses with a community page. And she got broad adoption over in Napa. And it was just really cool. And she was looking for some direction on how to do interviews and videos. So she came back down here and I was helping her with her videos on this page that she was doing. And so we got on a conversation about listings. Mind you, she's less than a year in the business. I go, well, how many listings? I go, do you have any listings? Because most agents don't. She goes, yeah. I go, how many listings do you have? She goes, I have 7. And I go, you have 7 listings? Like never in a million years would I have thought this. She's new, she's quiet, she's shy. Like you have 7 listings. And what she was is she was mentored by people who have great work ethics. We're going to sit down. We're going to hit the phones. We're going to hit our database. We're going to door knock. This is pre-monkeypox coronavirus thing. You know, we're going to door knock. We're going to get in front of as many people because we understand it's a numbers game. Not a lot of it was smart working, but it was hard working. You know, it's that inspiration, perspiration thing. And I thought to myself, isn't it interesting to see what happens when realtors and even lenders start to adopt the things that they know are best practices on a regular basis and put it on a calendar. You know, isn't it interesting how when you take on these activities, good things always happen. And you know, and here's a new realtor who's got 7 listings, and this is, you know, Napa, California. It's some of the most expensive real estate in the country. I'll bet you the median sales price on a house that she's got listed is $800,000 to $900,000. I'll bet you. And oh, by the way, they're listing for the same amounts of money that they're doing in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's also very cliquey in Napa. So to be a new agent in Napa and try and break onto the scene, it ain't easy.
Yeah, and I bring this up for a couple of reasons. Is I always tell realtors that we have to read the tea leaves of our market. You know, not all, like different markets call for different types of strategies. So right now we are heavy with buyers. We got a lot of buyers right now. We have a shortage of inventory. So if you're in sales, where's a better area for you to go? To go be one of the many diluted agents working with too many buyers in a market that doesn't have listings? Where you're going to have to compete against other agents and lose out on listings multiple times, you know, with a complete saturation, a glut of buyers? Or is it to go out there and try to find and manufacture listings where you didn't have them before? This is a conversation we spoke about last time, but there's some interesting numbers that came out. So this last week, housing activity had increased. Newly pending sales grew by 13.6% from last week and 28.5% from a month ago. Okay, so right now we're seeing a massive increase and new pending sales. Okay. But here's the interesting part. New listings were up over a week ago at 16.9%. They remain 19.8% right now. But the total for sale inventory fell 2.6% from the week prior, and it's down 27.4% annually. So we're higher than where we were with as far as our pending sales go from the last couple of months. But let's think about that for a minute. A couple of months, we were all stuck in our house with our listening to our spouse, listening to our kids, listening to the neighbors behind us who think it's a really clever and original idea to camp in your backyard every night and talk till 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, that's where we were 2 months ago, saying, I got to get out of this house because I'm going to throw that lovely child of mine through a plate glass window because teenagers always talk back. I got to get out of here. And so what happened is, you know, we all kind of had a jailbreak over the past couple of weeks. And what we're starting to realize is a lot of people were fermenting in their house saying, I want to get away from my neighbor. Maybe I need a bigger house. We've had time to not go to work and sit and kind of look at our house. How many jobs have been done on houses? How many honeydews and fix-it jobs have been done over the past 2 months? Houses have never looked so good because people are sitting at their house and they're looking at their house saying, I need to change those vents. Maybe I should clear the gutters. Maybe I don't want to live here anymore. People have had a chance over the past 2 months to do nothing but sit and look at their homes. Okay? And now what's happening is we've got our jailbreak where we can all get out. And a lot of these folks, renters included, are going out there and saying, yes, I want to buy a house. And that's the reason we have a glut of buyers. And that's the reason why we're seeing property values and sales going up. Again, they're going up from being absolutely dead in the water, but nevertheless, they're going up and at a pretty good clip. What we've learned over the past couple of weeks here is that there is still a huge desire to buy homes. And I think by extension, there's a huge desire to sell homes, but selling homes is a lagging indicator to people who want to buy homes, right? You know, we all go decide that we find the car that we want to buy before we turn the one we have in. So if we have a jailbreak of people who are looking around homeowners and renters who are going out as the market analytics would suggest right now, that they're going out and looking at properties, they're putting offers in on the limited inventory that we have in our communities right now. That's where we're at. Yep. New listings are up by 16.9% week over week after slowing during the Memorial Day weekend. Okay, now you think about that. New listings this last week are up 16.9%. They remain 19.8% below where we were a year ago, but we are up 16.9% right now. Total for sale inventory fell 2.6% from the week prior. Sales picked back up, and they're now down just 27.4% where they were last year. So again, if listing homes is a lagging indicator to buyers right now, think of the last 2 months of these extraordinary times that nobody in this country has ever seen before. Okay, a lot of those folks who have those houses, they've been looking around, they have been making their home buying intentions known, but they have not yet listed their houses. So what we're going to see here in the coming weeks is we're going to see more properties, or we're going to see more homeowners looking to list their homes. That's going to take place. Now, as a real estate agent, if we know this to be the case, and we're already finding the tremors for this right now, again, new listings are up 16.9%. We lost the spring buying and selling season. Summer is going to be the new spring. We were stuck in our houses in spring. Summer will be the new spring. And so what's happening is our markets, our annual markets, our ebbs and flows are going to be pushed forward by 3 months. So as a real estate agent, what I would not do is I would not sit and wait for somebody to contact me. I would not sit and say that my past client database, my sphere of influence, my ecosystem of people that I know and I can influence on a regular basis will clearly think of me when they're going to list their house. I would not leave that to chance. We know right now people are going to start getting off the fence that the summer is the new spring. What I would do as a real estate agent is I would go out there and I would proactively start talking to the people that I have influence or can influence. The people at the coffee shop down the street, my neighbor, you know, the soccer coach, the soccer mom, my neighbor, people at my church, my friends, my past clients, you know, these people that we talk with on a regular basis. 52% of people in this country own a house right now, and we know the vast majority of them are at least considering selling their house. We're starting to see the numbers come out. All the analytics would suggest that this is what's going to take place. We know that we have a glut. We are completely diluted with buyers right now. Don't jump into a diluted pool of buyers. Jump into a highly concentrated pool of sellers. Get those listings right now. Proactively go out and beat your competition to the listing opportunities. Did you know the stats are like 85% of the people, or like 90% of people who have a listing presentation stick with the first agent they spoke with? The numbers are overwhelming. Like, you could go to your neighbor who possibly listed with your competition 3 years ago, and if you were the first one to get in front of them and have a listing and be able to at least provide them with a listing presentation, then you're going to get that listing. And here's another thing that I would suggest to real estate agents. This is what the market calls for. I wouldn't even go talk to people that I'm not intimately familiar with. You know, people on the periphery of my personal ecosystem. I wouldn't even go there and say, do you want to list your house, man? What I would do is I would go to these folks and say, hey, listen, these are crazy times right now. Lots of ebbs and flows, the best economy, the worst economy. You're probably wondering what your house is worth right now. I'd like to do a BPO on it. What do you say? It would help me out because it tells me what this neighborhood, what the values of this neighborhood are, and I'll do a BPO on your property, and you'll know exactly what the house is worth right now. You're not going to have to deal with any conjecture or speculation. You will know from a professional what your house is worth. It helps me because I learned what the values of the community are going for, and it helps you because now you know exactly what your house is worth, so you can make any appropriate moves that you want to make going forward. See, when you do that, you take the hard sell out of the equation. I'm not cornering somebody saying list your house. I'm saying, hey, let me do a BPO. It's going to help me, and oh, by the way, it's going to help you too. I'm going to give you something that generally goes for $50 to $100 free of charge. Now, I've done this strategy before, and I've done this in markets harder than this, and it is so unbelievably easy to do. But here's the second part of that equation. If these are the tea leaves of our market, as I just suggested they are to you based on analytics that were put out just a couple of days ago. The second part of my strategy, guys, is once I provide that BPO to them, my neighbor, you know, somebody who I know because our kids play soccer together. When I provide that BPO, I'm going to provide that BPO in person. You could go ahead and safe distance it and just deliver it like this. Here's page 1, here's page 2. But I'm going to do it in person. That's me personally. Here's the reason why. I think we get a better conversion ratio when we do this. So how I would present a BPO to somebody who's in my sphere of influence, I would say, okay, here's how much your house is worth. Here's comp 1, here's comp 2, here's comp 3. Here's how I adjusted everything. Here's what your adjusted value is. That's pretty killer, isn't it? Can you believe that even during the corona monkeypox virus thing that we've got going on right now, that your house has still gone up in value? Can you believe that? This is an amazing market for you right now. And oh, by the way, a public record, here's how much your note is. If you sold your house, here's what your fees would be. Here's how much money you would net. Look, that's a lot of money, right? I mean, you would net $175,000 here. That's pretty good, isn't it? Oh, by the way, if you decided to take this $175,000 and take advantage of today's low interest rates, you could buy this house over here, this bigger, more beautiful house. And your payment's going to be lower because you don't have mortgage insurance and you have a lower interest rate. Yeah, you can actually get away from your Volkswagen and drive a Porsche for less money. Isn't that crazy? And here's another comp, or here's another property that's for sale in your neighborhood. Boy, isn't that one beautiful? And here's another one. Oh, by the way, there's your BPO. Have a great day. And I'm not going to sell anything because what I did is I got in the front door by having a simple pitch, which is let's just do a BPO. It's non-threatening. More people will say yes. Then I do it free of charge. Then I deliver it to them. I have a breakdown of what they'd make on the property, and I have alternatives if they chose to sell. Now, again, I've said this a million times, but this is amazing. Did you know that lasagna tastes better on granite countertops than it does Formica? Did you know that? That's a scientific fact. So do steaks, so do chicken nuggets. They taste better on granite countertops than they do Formica. Scientific fact. There's a million studies. Did you know that people sleep 20% deeper and longer on Mexican paver floors than they do 1985 shag carpet. When your bed is sitting on Mexican pavers, you will sleep better and deeper, and you will live longer than if you were sleeping on 2005 shag carpet.
There's got to be a bunch of people with all kinds of memes going through their head right now to, you know what I mean, to get somebody to give them a call, because that's pretty funny. Lasagna tastes better off a granite countertop than Formica. Need some help? Give me a call.
Did you know that your vegetables will stay more fresh in a Sub-Zero fridge? Did you know that? A 3-door Sub-Zero fridge? Now, it's human nature, guys. It's human nature. If you can say, people aren't as concerned about their loan amount as they are about their payment. People are concerned about their payment work. Now, do you have to work with a lender to make this work? Yeah, you do. Do you have to work with a motivated lender to make this work? Yes, you do. Are you working with a lender who won't do this? Go get a new one. We'll point you in the right direction. I'm dead serious. You have a symbiotic relationship with your lender where you're going after the same client, but not the same dollar. Now, so the tea leaves tell us this is a good idea. Let's have a non-threatening approach to people who are on the periphery of our ecosystem. Let's provide them with a BPO. Let's provide them with alternatives if they chose to list and sell their house in this absolutely fantastic market for sellers. Fantastic market. NAR said that 75% of the people who own a house right now are thinking about selling a house, meaning 51% of the owners in your community, of those 51%, 75% are thinking about this right now. And we have just gotten out of jail. No, we're still on parole because they might lock us back up. But right now we're on parole. We're running around. People are going to start listing homes. There are better ways to approach this. And if you go with a soft sell, providing a BPO, and then show them what it looks like if they realize the profits from the sale of their house, apply that to their new mortgage, I'll bet you donuts to dollar their overall monthly payment goes down. And that becomes a very compelling sales point. You don't need to sell anything. You just need to stay in touch with them. Now, I'm going to shut up right now in 1 second, but I have done this with groups of real estate agents all across the country. I've done this on Zoom meetings now for years. Frank can attest to this. And in fact, we've had people in Tampa and in Tacoma, Washington on the same Zoom meetings doing this. And I think when I did it the first time here, and I did the whole thing live on Facebook to see if we were going to sink or swim, I did it with 7 real estate agents in my office. And they set like 10 BPO appointments on cold calls. 10 BPOs on cold calls. We actually bought a list from a third-party provider of homeowners, because you can't get them from title and escrow people anymore, on cold calls. The numbers were extraordinary. This is a better time. It's a better market for this strategy, and I'm only asking you to speak with people who would recognize you if you were in aisle 4 at the grocery store buying a loaf of swirl rye bread.
I love it, man. And this, I want to say something. So first of all, there's a bunch of things I have to say in response to that, because that was a nice little rant, if you will. First of all, pay attention to what he said in the beginning. Summer is spring. Which does that make fall summer? In other words, like, opportunity is now. And what Brian was just talking about there, folks, is if you pay attention to NREP, if you pay attention to National Real Estate Post, they are spewing these data every single day. And if you just have an understanding, because my first question, Brian, before you, and then you kind of got deeper, was, okay, great, I should go after listings, but how? Like, how should I go after them? And here's what I took from this. It's really simple. Understand the data, because your client doesn't, the world doesn't. Right. Just vomit it, whether it's cold calling, whether it's door knocking, whether it's videos on social media, whether it's text messages, whether it's emails, it doesn't matter. Vomit the data, because someone's going to grab it and they're going to say, oh, that's right. This is the perfect time to sell, because we're going to get 10 offers in half a day, right? And that is the reality. And I think that some people just overthink it. They get in their own way. They're like, oh, well, how do I go out and get these listings? It's just create the content. That's what Brian is saying here. Don't sell them, just give it to them and they will come to you. Is that basically where you're going with this?
Yes. This market will sell itself. As we spoke about last week, there's a bunch of misconceptions going on that is being reinforced by, like, all your media sources. It could be online, it could be on the radio, on your television, but it's being reinforced directly and indirectly that the entire economy is being torn apart. That's, and so by extension, the housing market is being torn apart. So it would be a very easy conclusion for somebody to make that therefore the housing market is, or that the housing market is going to be torn apart by extension of what's going on in the overall economy. Now, you know, your average homeowner is not looking at this stuff every day. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about their health. They're worried about their job. They're worried about their mortgage payment. They're worried about the forbearance. Like all the things, like the last thing that they're thinking of is the last thing that they're researching. They're thinking about their house, but the last thing, they're not researching it. They're thinking of it, but they're not researching their house. They're fixing them up, but they're not diving deep and looking what the analytics tell us. And in every major metropolitan area across the country, home values are going up in spite of now the second biggest economic downturn, our second once in a lifetime downturn in 12 years. They're not looking at the data deep. And I think that if a real estate agent could position themselves to say, hey, the sky has not fallen. In fact, quite the contrary, this is a great market. It's hard to have that conversation because people will shut you down if you come in with a sales approach. That's why as a strategy, okay, here's the conflict. The conflict is that we don't have enough listings and we have a cloud of buyers. The resolution is get more listings. Okay, how do we get the listings? Use my BPO strategy. How do I use your BPO strategy? Start with this. Like, I mean this. You can do this today. Like, you know, when you get home, if you're home right now, just, you know, here's your door. Turn around from your door and just look at all your neighbors. What neighbors do you wave at? What neighbors do you know? You know, I mean, just when you're driving your neighborhood, I know people 3 blocks down. You know, how long have you lived where you live? Just look at your own neighborhood. Like they said in Silence of the Lambs, we covet what we know, Clarice. You know, let's just look at the people around us, okay? Then what you could also do is I would speak with my title rep, if you're in a title state, not a law state, but I would speak with my title rep and I'd say, okay, I want this area farmed. All I want to know is who are the homeowners. Just find out who the homeowners are and find the people that you wave at. And when you see them on the street, just tell them what you're doing. Be completely transparent. Just say, hey, listen, there's a lot of misconception about the markets right now. I want to see exactly where values are at. You know, one thing realtors do is we provide what's called a broker price opinion. You know, the economy's up and down. I want to see what this is doing to property values in our neighborhood. It's good for you. It's good for me. I will provide you with my broker price opinion if I can get your consent to do it on your house. What neighbor is going to say no to that? None of them will. They'll all say, yeah. And by the way, they have a vested interest in their biggest investment ever, don't they? And especially at times right now where we have seen that we are on the roller coaster like we have never been before. I mean, we're hitting Great Depression, not recession numbers in some areas. So yes, these homeowners are very interested to find out exactly what their house is worth. So what you do is, and when they say, yeah, you know what, that'd be cool. You say, all right, well, I want to go take some pictures of your house. Go over there, take the pictures. Take those pictures home. Do your BPO. Find out what the payoff on their loan is. You know, or you can get an estimation of that. Talk with a lender, a motivated lender who's going to work with your title rep, because you could go find out when they took that loan out, and you could get a rough estimation as to what the balance of that loan is, assuming they're making their minimum payment, as most people do. Mm-hmm. You could figure out what a rough payoff would give you. You could put together a rough settlement sheet, which would be easy enough to do. And then once you see how much money they would get out of it, go house hunting for them before they decide to list their house. And then just give them the information along with your card, because that scenario sells itself. Like I said, you know, what, are you kidding me? I can sell my house and realize a profit that I didn't think was possible. And then if I put this money going forward, I could move to the neighborhood of my dreams right now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
perfect storm.
And this is what
it's a perfect storm with rates too.
Yeah, and this is what I call manufacturing a lead, manufacturing a listing. We don't wait for the listing to come to us. We go to them. We manufacture a listing where it didn't exist before. And I want just one last point here. When somebody decides that they're going to sell their house, they make their home selling intentions known. They might speak with 2 or 3 realtors. Oftentimes they don't. Same thing with buyers. You know, you're going to have to compete against whoever listed that house before, aren't you? When somebody makes their home selling intentions known, you are now competing against other real estate agents who also know, because that person's information is going to get captured not only in your marketing pieces, but also your competition's marketing pieces. And then everybody's going to start calling this person who's considering listing their house because they made their intentions known. And now you're competing against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different agents. So you have 1/25 or 1/20th a chance of getting that listing. Now, when you take my approach, they didn't make their home selling intentions known, did they? So how many people are you truly competing against? Yeah. You're not competing against anyone. You're competing against yourself to get a person to actually listen to you, because the scenario that I just laid out sells itself, and all the analytics of the market right now would tell you that, would suggest that I'm right on this. So again, glut of buyers, lack of listings. Let's go get those listings. Let's take the BPO approach. It works. I've done it a million times. I mean, you'll kill it. You'll all kill it.
It's a simplistic approach, yet it's probably the most effective. Yeah. And this is the kind of stuff you can apply in any market. This just happens to be the one that's right now. And it is a perfect storm. It's the absolute perfect time. Frank, you've been silent, obviously. I wanted to know if you had anything to add to this conversation. Like what's going to happen in winter? Is winter going to be fall, or when are we going to actually correct this thing? How are the seasons going to shake out?
Well, I mean, the news that's out there, and first, it's okay if I share my screen, right? So I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and just so everybody's aware here, let me go to where are we here? I'll go to the National Real Estate Post. Just so for anybody who's watching, if you haven't already visited our actual website, which is the National Real Estate Post, do it. Make sure you go and check out the National Real Estate Post. I go every day, every morning, just get there and check things out, because on the National Real Estate Post, Brian's taking off. So we'll see you later, bud.
I got to get my charger. I'm just going home to get my charger.
Oh, we'll be done by the time you get back. Yeah. So Brian's out, so I'll wrap this thing up, Jeff. But just so everybody, guys, just so you know, I mean, if we're in the mortgage and real estate industry, I've been reporting on the mortgage and real estate industry for 13 years. And so I look at what's going on in the industry every single day. And it's important to look at what's going on in the industry every single day, just because you know what's going on. You know what's going on out there, which might, help you do your business better, right? It also, one of the main things, guys, especially for our new, video bloggers and podcasters out there in the real estate industry, having something to talk about is really important, right? Like being able to have something intelligent to talk about where you can get interaction with people is clutch. And so a lot of people ask us, like, where do you guys come up with your stuff every day for 13 years? Oh my gosh. And well, we used to dig around in a whole bunch of different places, but we said, well, let's stop doing that. Let's just put everything on our homepage. And so that's what we have today. So I'm here, I'm showing you the nationalrealestatepost.com. You can see there's just all kinds of news feeds coming in from all different places that have all relevant information, and it's updated real-time live. As soon as these news sources start publishing their stories and their articles, it gets published right away. On the National Real Estate Post, if you click on this, it's NREP Daily. If you go to NREP Daily, you'll see our daily shows, and in the upper right-hand corner, you can subscribe there. We'll shoot you an email every single day. We are rolling out in the next couple of weeks the NREP mobile app. So it'll actually be a free download mobile app on your smartphone. Every time a new story comes out, you just get a little notification, hey, there's a new story. You can click on it. You'll be able to access everything on the National Real Estate Post. So that is coming. But with all of that in mind, to answer your question, Jeff, as to what's going on, heading into the future, well, here's what it is I'll show you a couple of things I brought up. I brought this up to take a look at, which is the real estate the real estate industry is just, regardless of the pandemic, the real estate industry is trying to just bust through the surface, right? I almost look at it like, you put a little seed in the ground and it just sits there percolating. It just wants to bust through the top. And that's kind of what we're experiencing with the industry right now. Any prognosticators, any economists that are notable out there are all predicting that the real estate industry is really not only going to come shooting out of this thing strong, but really kind of carry the economy, because the real estate industry is such a huge part of the overall economy of the United States. So the real estate and mortgage industry are going to really kind of pop out of this thing and kind of be the heroes of the recovery, is how everybody's seeing this, which is very different to the last disaster we had in 2008, 2009, where we're the absolute villains, of what went wrong. But now we're going to be the absolute heroes of what went wrong. And so here's just a couple of stories that I picked up today from the National Real Estate Post. And one of them is from MPA, which is the Mortgage Professional America. And remember, real estate agents, just because it says mortgage doesn't mean it applies to you. Most U.S. renters manage to pay rent in the first week of June. So what? Well, you could read the article and that type of a thing. But I think in being tied to what we're saying here, if most renters were able to pay in June, that's a good sign for us because renters become buyers, right? They definitely do. And here's what I want to couple this with is this, that a third of employees, again, this was taken from today, right from the National Real Estate Post, a third of employees want to work from home permanently, okay? Mm-hmm. So let's put these two things together and couple that with yet another story that was reported last week, which is that real estate sales are projected to really increase in the suburbs, right? Where there's a little bit of room between houses, and the reason why is because of this story right here is that a lot of companies are realizing that a lot of their employees can actually perfectly well fully function working from the home. And so if we think about this, it's, I've got an employee who's working for a company that might be in a more congested, city. And in order for me to commute there every day, I have to live relatively close to that city in order for me to get there every single day, right? And not only that, since I'm living very close, and the city is somewhat of a major metro area, right? So this is your major metro areas. I can't really afford to buy a house, really. I'm kind of on the edge, so I'm kind of stuck with renting, But now that I can work from home permanently, well, I could move another 50 miles, across the state there and get into that nice little suburb community where pricing is affordable and I don't have to worry about that commute anymore. So I'm good. I could take my salary that maybe wasn't enough for me, in my metro area to buy, but now I can use my same salary and I can afford something a little further out. The other thing that's going on, guys, with suburbs is, and other stories that we've recently picked up from the National Real Estate Post homepage, is that people are moving more into the suburbs now or looking at selling in the metro area. So dumping their home in the metro area that they own and moving a little more to the suburbs simply because they just want to have a little more room, right? They don't want to be stacked on top of each other so that COVID-19 is just one thing. Now that we've gone through all this, who knows what other future, diseases are going to start flying around and people. So I think there's just this mindset that's going to stick with us maybe for the rest of our lives that, hey, maybe not being so close to people is a good thing, right? I think that that's going to kind of stick with us for a while. I'll give you a perfect example. I got in my church, we haven't been able to get together, obviously, for a long time. And this last Sunday, we were able in the state of California to get together, but there's rules. You got to be a certain amount of feet apart. You got to wear a mask. You got to do all this stuff, right? And so what we did is we had a physical services this weekend. And I tell you, we were thinking that, and we had two of them to kind of spread out the people so they could be separated. And we were thinking, boy, people are just going to rush back. Oh, they're going to be so happy. Like, oh, right, we can finally meet together again. And I tell you, turnout was not that big. It was pretty light. And I think what it is just our minds have been, set in a particular way through this pandemic to where it's like, love y'all. I don't know that I'm ready to start, getting too close to y'all. Right. And I think that mindset's going to stick with us. So these stories, real estate is going to be good. It's trying to push through everything, regardless of whatever the news is. Real estate seems to still just kind of try to pop out there and get going. I think it's going to be really good for us. One of the things for us to look at in our marketing is definitely looking at maybe if you happen to be one of these agents who's in a suburb, of the major metro area, instead of just going on realtor.com or to NAR to find a referral agent, if you get somebody, or actually the other way around, if you're in the metro area and you got people that want to move out to the burbs, right? maybe start connecting to actually somebody. If you notice, like, wow, everybody's moving to Granite Bay, maybe I should find a good agent that's just my go-to agent to do a referral thing out there. You know what I mean? Instead of just saying, yeah, I'll find you somebody, and then trying to actually find somebody you don't know if they're any good or not, right? So I think today we need to really start establishing good referral agent connectivity in various areas, so that we do have our steady go-tos in certain areas. If we find people going from one area to the next because of this pandemic and just the way things have changed. So kind of a long-winded answer there, Jeff, but I think that's what's going on. I think that's what we're going to be looking at. I think we're in good shape.
Well, I think
hang in there and ride with it.
I think it's fascinating, and I think it's a testament to going back to the beginning here of why we've decided we wanted to partner with you guys, is because you bring a different element, and everybody who's on Lab Coats and anybody who's watching this knows that we go deep on technology, we go deep on strategy, we go deep on a lot of things, but we don't as often go deep on the data. And the data like you guys present it, because I'm thankful for showing your site, because it's a really good example of, you might go to that page and think, oh, it's just a bunch of news. But guys, realtors, this is relevant news. And I can speak from experience, being in the mortgage industry. My people have been loyal followers of you guys for as long as I can think. What was it before? The Think Big or Think Small?
TBWS Daily.
That's it.
Think Big or Small. Yeah.
And so we've been following this, and we use it like religion. We love it when Barry's on, and so it is completely relevant to the real estate side, because this is exactly how I use it. It's not just the data to say what are the rates doing, because that may not be as relevant to you. It actually is, but maybe you don't find it that way. But seeing how Brian presented that today, seeing the news that Frank is sharing with you guys, this is valuable stuff. And it's exactly how you could be using it, because what Brian just presented to us today is not rocket science. And I promise you, very, very few realtors are actually executing on that strategy. So if you're listening today, I would hunker down, bear down, figure out how you can take that exact same content, distribute it from a variety of resources and mediums, and become that expert. And then take it one step further, like Frank said, now take the other strategy that we taught you about becoming the digital celebrity, the digital mayor of your town, and then couple the two together. You give them what they want to consume, and then sprinkle in what they need to consume, which is this kind of data. And you might find sellers who didn't even realize they were considering selling, because you gave them the data that put them over the top, or made them think, honey, check this out. Maybe we should sell. This is the right time. And I love it, man. This has been good. And we didn't even have a plan going into this. We just started talking, and here we go.
Well, that's the way it'll be with us. I mean, because you know what? The news and what's going on in the industry is always changing. It's always new. There's always something we need to talk about, every single week. And I got to move on to another webinar. But I would tell you guys this too, something that Jeff kind of touched on that's really important for all of our video bloggers out there, for all of our agents out there that are becoming the digital mayor, right? Who are presenting themselves constantly on Facebook or wherever, Facebook Lives, whatever it is you're doing. Me and Brian, I've been reporting on the industry for 13 years, but I don't consider myself an expert in anything by any means, right? I don't, okay? However, we're perceived that way, okay? And perception is reality to a lot of people. And so if you're doing the video thing on a consistent basis, go to the National Real Estate Post, find a story you find interesting, okay? Click it, read it, understand what it says, and then just try to think of how can I make this seem valuable, you know what I mean, to the regular consumer. Do your podcast, explain the story, right? And then at the end of it, just say, hey, if you need any help with any real estate, that's what I'm here for. Connect with me. And here's the other thing to remember is that if you do that consistently, whether you know it or not, you might not get a lot of feedback, right? You might not get likes or comments, but people are seeing it, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're just seeping into them and becoming, that guy or gal knows what they're talking about. That guy or gal is the expert. Okay? Yep. And so people want to work with the expert. And so that's really going to help you tremendously, because at some point in time, somebody's going to go, hey, I need your help on something. And that's what's literally going to happen. You know how well it's worked out for us? Me and Brian have been featured on like After the Bell with Liz Clayman on Fox News, national television news show, you know, multiple times, and have always been presented as real estate experts, right? And anytime we did it, I swear to God, Jeff, I was always horrified. Like, oh God, I hope if she asks me something, I've got an answer, man. You know what I mean? I hope I do. And we always did well. We always had a good time on her.
Of course, because you are, and it's funny you mentioned that because I was actually going to create a video about this. Everybody's an expert, but the real experts are not self-proclaimed. The real experts, in my opinion, somebody else claims it, like everybody claims you to be, like people claim me to be a video expert. I'm not. I just do a lot of it, and that's the difference. The difference is the real, the good coaches, the real experts are the ones who actually execute these strategies. Yeah. And I love what Frank said there. This is brilliant. I tell people this with content all the time. You don't have to create original content to create consistent content. Just go find it. Going to the National Real Estate Post every day, maybe every other day, maybe even just once a week, take one article. Here's your idea. Frank said it. I would do a screen share, partial screen share, partial view, and you tell people the source. This is where I'm getting it from. You cliff note it for them because that's what everybody wants. And over time, you become the authority. You become the expert. And yes, naturally, people just are attracted to your brand. And by the way, sprinkle in a lot of authentic content because not only do they go to the people that are the experts, it's the people they know, like, and trust. They know and like. And so if they see you as a family man or woman, or they see your travels, or that's what people want. It's great, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You're preaching our language, dude. When we taught to do this, we always taught that. It's like, look, if you find anything interesting, somebody else is going to find it. That's what you can talk about. Or if something happened really cool in your life, talk about it because people will resonate with it. You know, and so, yeah, but then definitely mingle in here's the news. Here's what this means to you. Here's what it means to our community, you know, because now you're the likable, trustable expert as to what's going on. So with that, I got to get out of here, man. I got to move on to my next one.
Love it. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. You know what I'd like to do next time? Think about this. Let's talk a little bit more about vlogging and go a little bit deeper on how people can build that into their strategy.
Oh, for sure. We got stuff on that just like you all day long. So that would be a good one.
Awesome, Frank. Appreciate it. Tell Brian thank you, and Lab Coat, thank you again. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for another, what is this called? The State of the Month report.
State of the Month. All right, man.
All right, man.
Sounds good. See ya. Bye.